The elephant stood in the middle of the room, silent, polite, careful not to knock over a lamp or a vase. The man and woman on the couch spoke of HBO, the children, property tax, movies, but not once did they mention the elephant. What am I, chopped liver? He thought, fighting the urge to wave his trunk through their bric-a-brac. He was hurt, angry, but in the end, tolerant. He could forgive, but would never forget. My life is not a movie, some cheap reality show, a magazine spread, she said, crossing her legs. I pushed myself away from the table, stood up and looked around at the other loungers sunning themselves at the cafe. You know, Vivian, you should get a website. Sell those things you make. I bet there's a market for them. She ground her cigarette into the ashtray, finished her wine. Maurice, you are such an idiot. I'm the only daddy in the carpool. Carpool daddy. When it's my turn to drive, I want to kiss each mommy and give her ass a little squeeze. Tell her to have a nice day, that I can't wait to see her in the evening when I get home. The kid gets in the car, I pull away, and watch mommy in the rearview mirror. I memorize what she's wearing as she waves to us before going back inside. I'm scrunched up under the table, knees on the dirty restaurant linoleum. I have an urge to draw a happy face on my wife's knee, then stab her boyfriend in the foot and pin it to the floor. But all I have is a dropped butter knife. On all fours, I press my back up against the underside of the table and rise, the undercover buffalo. I flay my skin for you. It hangs from my chest and arms and back like a fringed jacket, like I'm going to a Neil Young concert, like I smell of patchouli and boo, like I stick to the seat of your VW Bug, except that the shreds have hardened and clink against each other. I'm a human wind chime. Hey man, can you hear me now? Cheap and gaudy as jelly beans, hard as a jawbreaker, Candy Nelson sat on the bench in front of Jessup's Hardware, filing her nails. Discomfited by yet another yeast infection, she crossed, then uncrossed her legs, finally just opened them like a book, displaying to the illiterate Luther Choate driving by a page from heaven, causing him to lose control of his pickup and run over a red hound that was crossing the road. She loved secrets, stole magazines, makeup, sauntered through the office, pulling at the hem of her sweater, hiding her hips. Her hands were pudgy and dainty, dimpled like a doll's, always used a paper napkin to hold her fried chicken. Hello, Jerome, she purred as I put down my briefcase, hung up my coat. What's on your agenda today? Regulators coming in. I can help, she said, I can help. Crawford stood outside of Sloane's, hand up for a cab. His face was punctuated by a cigar, and a redhead hung on his arm like a comma. He'd approached her after his third doers in water. You make a bar stool look like a throne. She looked at him, suppressed a smile. Yeah? You make wearing a raincoat look like a felony. He lit her cigarette, loosened his tie, and sat down next to her, bumped her knee. While I was away, you managed to rust all my tools. How's that possible? Did you dip them in the bathtub like tool fondue? I do not understand. You deny everything but cannot explain the rusted brad puller, pliers, awl, and bucksaw in our bed. Maybe someone was playing a joke, you say, then add, a wet hammer is still a hammer. She was from Trinidad. She was beautiful. She lived upstairs for the dry cleaner on 3rd Avenue. I loved her. All that winter, I pestered my mother. Did she need me to take something to the cleaners? She said we never used no dry cleaner except that one time, my sister's communion dress. So I applied for a job at the cleaners, and the lady there smiled and said, "Sugar, you are too young." She sat on the porch in the old rocker, moved back and forth, tried to puzzle out her feelings. The paper boy hit her in the knee with the Times. She kept on rocking. Kids ran by, the UPS truck rumbled past, a dog shat on her lawn. She just kept rocking, thinking. The sun went down, cars pulled into driveways. Her husband climbed the steps. "Hi, hun," he put down his briefcase. "Fuck you, Larry," she said. The gunny sack hangs from the saddle, full of sparked ore. I let Shorty sit from the stream, long neck arching in the sun. There is a ghost in the cottonwood I sit under to reread your letters. It tries to sniff the pressed flowers you mailed from the garden in Boston, but the scent is gone. The petals and paper, envelope, all smell like campfire now. She loved him in Valentine's Day, but she adored chocolate. He knew all this, yet stood before her in his white terry robe, empty-handed. No heart-shaped box, no Godiva bag, nothing from Richard or Maison du Chocolat, nothing from Belgium, not a hint of bonbons stuffed with truffles or hazelnut pyramids filled with nougatine. "Okay, where is it?" she said. He smiled and pushed her down on the bed. "You'll see," he said. The sea is under the sky. The clouds are in the sky. The sun is between the clouds. My keys are on the table. I will be in the car driving beneath the sky toward the sea. There is a small house on the beach. The door is red. I will open the door and put my keys on the table. You will be in the blue chair near the window. You will turn, fold the corner of the page in the book you are reading, and rise to kiss me now. She trusted grins. They were shot directly from the heart, whereas smiles, oh, smiles could trick, be untrue, do you harm. Mendacious, twisted with bad intentions, like her father's, his mouth turned up at one corner like a beckoning finger, pulling his eye down into a squint. After she fled, he became his own wife, ironing in his underwear, dusting the shelves, moving the figurines to the dining room table, then replacing them carefully when he finished waxing the cabinet. Wearing her apron, he often made casseroles. Sometimes he'd sit on her closet floor and move his face through her dresses like a dog searching a field of high grass. I saw you on the road, in the distance. You were walking to town, holding Kim's hand. I couldn't reach you. There were wolves between us. They were sleeping, their teeth hidden, but their tails twitched, and I was afraid. I took the back way to town and searched for you in the fog. Someone whispered that you were at the hotel, and I went there, but all the doors were locked. I slept under a bush and waited for you. It's over, finished, kaput, I tell her, already thinking about my own apartment. What? Kaput? Is that Dutch? She puts her hand into my coat pocket, unfurls the fingers of my clenched fist. You're cold, baby. Let's get you home. I'll make you some hot chocolate, she says. I'm trying to tell you something, I say. I know, she says, pulls up my collar. Let's get you home first, then tell me in English. She was beautiful, fragile and afraid, a peacock in a hailstorm. We sat together on the couch, waiting for the car horn. It sounded at last, and I held her hand as we pushed through the snow in the driveway. I turned away after I buckled her into the back seat. Don wouldn't look at me, but reached back, touched her knee. I watched them drive off, then walked back to the house, careful not to step into her footprints. She knit him a sweater. It itched, didn't fit, but he wore it. The kids gave him a Stephen King novel. He hated King, but read it. His aunt made him some peanut brittle. He was allergic to peanuts, ate it anyway, went into anaphylactic shock. At the New Year's party, a moment of silence was observed in his memory. His generous spirit was mentioned. Then the funny hats came back out and the dancing resumed. I lie on the old couch, Roscoe pressed against my side, his gray muzzle twitching as he name stalks a deer or a duck. My hand rests on his back and I feel the heat of his body through the fur. We are heavy with blood and breath and life. I am half awake, only the nag of bladder keeping me from joining Roscoe on the other side, where I can run and chase and hunt and howl, and we are the same, no pets allowed.